welcome. Thanks for being here. Hope your day is going well. Hope you're doing well. All right, fun stuff today. So, today will be all about the goddesses that I found that are particular to the Americas. These are specifically North American gods, quote unquote, goddesses. Okay. And I have a little bit of stuff stored on my camera, but this first one is kind of it's just a little mind blowing because I did do a video before where I spoke about some of the names of the indigenous peoples of the Americas and how their names are similar to some of the Orishas. Well, we have been hearing a lot for a long time about a group called the Abenaki. Well, I personally, with my so-called like speaking to the Great Mother and to the planet and that type of thing, had gotten a message or remembrance that they are, if they are quote unquote aliens, so to speak, they are our relatives. And I had a suspicion that they may look like chestnut and mahogany toned peoples, specifically mothers. Well, this first god, whose name is not as hard as I thought it was, but some of these names, I don't know how to pronounce them. I don't speak the language of the peoples, and it was difficult finding these deities, let alone finding how to pronounce them. So if you are someone who understands this language and knows how to pronounce them and want to leave a comment helping out, that would be awesome. Okay, so in researching these deities, this group came up, and this group is specifically, like I said, North American. And the name of the tribe and the group is Abenaki. 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 And this group, so this creator, his name, this is a very interesting story, but here goes. This deity's name is Tabaldak. An androgynous creator among the Abenaki and Algonquin people of northeastern North America. Their name means the owner, who created all living things but one. So that is Tabaldak. This creator, that name means the owner, who created all living things but one. And the one living being that Tabaldak did not create, that being's name was Oduzi Hodo. And Tabalak created people, this is the story, out of stones, but their hearts were too cold. So they, even though, because they're androgynous, broke up the stones and left them scattered over Abenaki land. Next, they tried wood, and out of that came the Abenaki people. And so the Oduzi Hodo, or Odozi Hoodoo, that name means he made himself from something. Only they had one hand. Oduzi Hodo only had one hand and was not a creator of things. He needed help from Tabaldak. And by the time Ozi Hoodoo was formed, he had transformed the world into his vision. So it's interesting because the world supposedly that we live in was created by Ozi Hoodoo, though Tabaldak is the ultimate creator. And it's similar to some of the stories we heard where this world was created also by another being, and then that being is kind of in control of this world, but before that was a different creation. And you can see that somehow in ways, even with the planet that we're living on today, with remnants of giant trees, and even more recent discoveries of what looks like bodies and pieces of a giant dragon, aka possibly Tiamat, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is posted in my community. You can check it out. It's by the guy who does my lunch break. Okay, moving forward. So the next deity. Oh, okay. So created, before I move on. So Ozihudu had formed the world as he had wished, and he did this by pushing dirt, making lines for rivers, and taking great care in forming Lake Champlain. And happy with the work, turned to stone. So it's an interesting story, because it's like, which one created it? Are they both the same being? And then this is kind of how they represented themselves as both creators. Okay. The next group is the Hopi. And I wanted to show you just a photo of one of the pictures I found on Wikipedia. And this is Shaiva. She is a Tiwa girl, and we'll go a little bit into that because there are different groups within the groups of the tribe of Hopi. And they're all similar, but this is just a little different as far as ceremonies and cultures. But this is her, what is considered a butterfly waft hairstyle. I mean, I think we've seen, it's not the same, but wasn't intentionally mimicking this, or, wearing my hair like this. I was doing it for different reasons, but once I saw this, I thought, isn't that interesting? Okay, so, and that's just one of the pictures, because there's a little bit more on here, but that is one of the first pictures. Because I have on here also some more about Hopi mythology. Okay, so in the Hopi, and this is a long name, Anquasun As Om Taka. Agwasun Ason Taka. That's all one word. And I will spell it for you quickly. ANGWUSNASOMTAKA. Also known as Tumaz or Dimaz. TU with the little dots over it. MAS. This creator goddess is a kachina. And a kachina is a spirit represented by a masked doll, and also represented in the culture as masked, similar to orishas. She is a Wuya kachina. And then it shows the different ways kachina can be spelled, and the plural of it, which is katsinim. A spirit being in the religious beliefs of the Pueblo, practiced by the Hopi Tiwa, and that's Tiano, Southern Tiwa Hano, or Tano, Southern Tiwa Hano, Thano, kind of like Thanos, THANO, how do we not know this? This is so much information we're not told. Or the Arizona Tiwa. And they are the Tiwa Pueblo group. They have a language, the Tiwa language, which goes from like Rio Grande through New Mexico or the north part of Santa Fe. And this goddess, or kachina, was one of the chief kachinas. Chief. Chief. Isn't that like chef? I had this in another video. This is just a little side note about words and word magic. Okay, back to the story. One of the chief kachinas, and considered the mother of all of the who, and all of the kachinas, also known as the who. So the who are also known as the hua. The tithua is also the kachina of the hummingbird, and so there will be this. There's a reverence for the hummingbird because there is a story that the hummingbird convinced the gods to bring rain. And then there is a dance and there is a celebration, and it usually takes place underground. And the Hopi also have a story of the ant people, and the ant people is not exclusive to the Hopi. There are other peoples around the world who talk about an ant tribe, and so I find that interesting as well. Okay. Let's see. And then yucca, or yucca, as you might hear it also pronounced, is probably more correct actually, is the name of the ritual. And the ritual, so during the ritual, the Bo Anu celebration, also known in English as the Crow Mother. So the peoples that are not of Hopi have interpreted this goddess, whose name is also Tuamas. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. I wanna just do some double checking. Yeah. So it's Tumas, which I just find very connected, similar to like Tiamat, even though it's spelled differently. It's not that not many letters different, and that is one of her other names. But her long name is Angusan Astom No. Angus Nas Omtaka. Angunus Asomtaka. Also Tumas. And Tumas. Maybe like Thomas. Okay. So continuing about her, that was it's just another creative aspect of the mother in the Americas. And then as I'm looking at this writing and sounding out the words, doesn't it sound like some of the other languages in the world? I mean, even the way I'm pronouncing it, I'm probably reflecting off of other languages in the world. However, I'm asking you guys, do you hear it also? Okay. Another one, also Hopi, is Spider Grandmother. Okay, so Spider Grandmother is also called Goyeng So Untri, among many other names, and can take the shape of an old or timeless woman or the shape of a common spider in many Hopi stories. When she is in her spider shape, she lives underground in a hole that is like a kiva. Okay, so a kiva is like a ceremonial place that's somewhat built outside. Also, I want to show you this real quick. So this is Spider Rock in the Grand Canyon. It's Canyon de Chelly in Arizona. I said the Grand Canyon, but it's Canyon de Chelly in Arizona, a legendary home of the Navajo spider grandmother. I mean, doesn't it also look like a castle? Anyways, okay. So, a kiva looks something like this. And they're basically underground. They start on the top and then they tend to go underground. Here's a depiction of what it looks like underground. So you see kind of a little bit of the photo at the top. That's the top of it. And then, so something like, I don't know where my finger is over here would be the top that you would see above ground. And then you would go into it, and that's what would be below ground. So that's the spider, grandmother spider. She's also known for being the kiva. She's the mother of the great kivas. Okay. There are, that's what I was reading that off of here, which was like, how come I got lost? Because I'm on the wrong, I did get lost. That she is, when she's in her spider shape, she lives underground in a hole that is like a kiva, where she is called, when she is called upon, she will help people in many ways, such as giving advice or providing medical cures. Spider grandmother is seen as a leader and a wise individual who represents good things. Okay, and what else did I find? That there are many myths of her. So the first tale, there are many myths of her, and one of the first tales are, okay, so the first tale is a story that begins with Tawa, the sun god, and Spider Woman, Spider Grandmother, who is identified with the Earth Goddess. So they separate themselves to create lesser gods, then create the earth and its creatures, and then Spider Woman and Tawa realized the creatures they made were not alive, so they gave them souls. And then after that, they created woman and man from their own likeness and sang life to them, sang them to life. From there, Spider Woman separated creatures into tribes and led them through the 4 great caverns. After they came to their final home, Spider Woman tells the people the roles of the woman and of the man, or the female and the male, as well as the religious practices they were to follow. And it was noted that an anthropologist, Fred Egan, found this version to be very close to the Sunni creation myth, which I looked up, and I can't remember if I thought they were similar. So that's the first tale, and then there are many tales. So the Dene Bahane creation narrative. Oh, nope. Yeah, this is Navajo. So then she moves into, so Hopi, and even though those are different tribes, they, in some aspects, they share similar deities, but they might have different stories to them. So in the Navajo, the Spider Woman is considered a helper and a protector of humans. And she is also known to aid in, let's see. Yeah, there's a story where she aids in helping get rid of monsters that were endangering the Earth's surface. And then Feather Hoops protected the Navajo people from these attacks, or the Dene. And it was from this that women taught the other villagers how to do those things that were of the Spider Woman, which is like hooping, and that was how they would manage through the winter. Oh, no. Okay, wait. My eyes, I'm feeling the words are getting, okay. It says, yeah, she would give the people feather hoops that protected them from attacks. In another myth, I apologize, in another myth, two women come to Spider Woman hoping for a solution to help the Navajo people bear the winter. I apologize, I skipped that totally. She taught the women how to make yarn from sheep wool and to dye it and weave it. From this, the women taught the other villagers how to do these things, and the village was able to make rugs and use and sell to help survive the winter. Okay, and let's see, do I have another story? And this is... Oh, okay. So, from there... other myths, also known as, so also with the Dene, other myths and the Navajo are that she's also called the thought, like thinking thought woman, of the Acoma Pueblo Indians, of west of Albuquerque. And in 1983, Carl Taub connected the southwestern Spider Woman myth of the pre-Columbian Teotihuacan, the great goddess. Okay, so I'll do another video on that. And then also that Carl, he was a professor of anthropology and studied a long time different indigenous cultures, including Mesoamerica and American the Southwest. Okay, then we move into Inuit people. In Inuit culture, they have Sedna. And this is, I think I've talked about this a little bit before on one of my other videos because I remember the story and it's super sad. But I'm going to show you a picture of her and talk about like links to like Mamiwata and Lilith and Medusa. Okay. As we modernize certain deities, so to speak, and move around. So Sedna is a goddess of the sea and marine animals. She's the mother of the sea, or she's also called the mistress of the sea. And this is where I linked Lilith and Mamiwata. And then somebody mentioned in what I looked up that she would be the Greek equivalent of Amphitrite. And if you remember, I did another video where I was like, Amphitrite, because it talked about Poseidon and Amphitrite. So I did do a little research on Amphitrite, but before I do that, I want to show you, this is a picture of Sedna. Does she not look almost exactly like Mamiwata? I mean, what? So, Amphitrite, which I also did some research on, is... So there's two stories about her. There's one story where it's like her and Poseidon were cool with each other. He wanted to marry her. And he wanted to marry her so bad that he sent many creatures. So here's supposedly a picture of her. Greek times. And I have a picture of Athena, and Athena is darker. Okay. So the story is he wanted to marry her, and She hid from him, but he sent many creatures to find her, specifically a dolphin, and convinced her to marry Poseidon. And he like rewarded the dolphins. But I didn't go into deep with this because my focus was on indigenous goddesses. Okay, so the last indigenous goddess that I have for today is did I figure out what tribe? Let me see. It's on my phone. So what? Okay, so this tribe is Iroquois. Iroquois. This god's name is Hagwe Hidiyu. Hagwe Hidiyu. HAHGWEHDIYU. Also called Hawenneyu, Rawenneyu, Hawenneyu, or sapling. Okay. This is an Iroquois god of goodness and light, as well as a creator god. This is a male god, but I wanted to include it. He has a twin brother, the god of bad. They were children of Antahesek, the sky woman. Okay. Or her other name being Tequahara Hakwa. Tekahara Hakwa. TEKAWERAHKWA. Other name is Earth Woman in the same versions. And okay. So the story is that with this child, because he was a twin and the other one, so he survived and he created the world from his own body and that of his mother's. His outstretched palm became the sky, his mother's head the sun, and her breast became the moon and the stars. He made her body the earth, into which he planted a seed, which grew into the maize plant. So I included this because though it is a male deity, everything created was around, not everything, but most everything created was around the Great Mother, the Earth Woman, or Sky Woman. Okay? Now, I was going to do a side note of... Okay. Because... So I have the Encyclopedia of Spirits, where, you know, I've shared before. I just want to share again because it's a great book. I learned this from watching another YouTube awesomeness. I consider them also a Sybil, priestess Aset Amun, if I'm saying that correctly. Years ago, she had mentioned this book, and I got this book years ago. So some of the stuff in here I haven't read in a while, and some stuff I have read more recently. So the reason why, two things. One is this book first, just happenstancing through the book and being like, okay, what can I figure out today? And I was looking up. So interestingly, Amonet is in here, who is also Amunet, Amenaut, Amenet, Imminent, spelled with an I. All the others are spelled with an A. And Amentat. Okay. This one spirit emerged in the primordial past, incorporating both male and female genders. Eventually, it split into two, with Amon as the male spirit and Amonet as the female. She is usually described as his female counterpart, but he could just as easily be described as her male counterpart. Amunet possesses the same powers as Amun. Her manifestation is a snake-headed woman or a cobra. And I didn't go deep into Amun, but I'm going to. And it's quite different, but they are supposed to have similar powers. So I wanted to share that about her. And then from there, I was also looking up daemons again, or demons, just kind of for educational purposes, and was looking at Asheroth. So I'm going to show you. So this book is Goodwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia by David Goodwin. He's kind of known for writing a whole bunch of occult and such type books. And this book is, as you can see, it's got a lot in it. It has from Hebrew, different things in Hebrew, and then symbols and different things about signs. It has gematria. It goes into Solomon's seals. It goes into the seals of the planets. It has a lot of information in it. So today was looking up Asheroth. So it has Ashtaroth, and it has a picture of her, and it's from the Dictionary of Infernal, which is supposed to be like the dictionary of demons. And in this depiction, she looks feminine, but also kind of like hunched and not awesome. And then it says here, that's it. There's just a picture. Then it says the year of when the picture was made. It was like 1863. Okay, 1800s. Across the world seem to have. I think that was the reset year, personally, because it sounds like everything. It's like everything kind of started from there, and then whatever history. It's just interesting. Okay, so when you go to and then what was the other one? Asheroth, and then Azeroth, and then it says go to Asheroth. So I go to Asheroth, and what does it say? Astarte, a Phoenician goddess. That's all it says. That's it. So what? You took a Phoenician goddess. We talked about this before. Took a Phoenician goddess and basically turned her into a demon. So, okay. So if you really think about things, there's two things that comes out of the occult, and as we start understanding kind of like creation, numbers, symbols, all that kind of stuff, right? So let's just say we created demons and angels. Like, that's how powerfully creative we are. We would have created all the gods as well. We would have created language, religion, how to do stuff. Like, doesn't that kind of show us how capable of creation we are? And that through different stories and through different languages and different cultures are how we've come up with like myths and stories. Because if we go to this is just kind of how we've been raised in this environment. Because if we were to say go to a certain part of India, we might have been raised Buddhist or Hindu or Islamic, depending on where, or possibly Christian, or possibly nothing. But what we don't see in the world is a unified, besides Catholicism in a unique way, even though Catholicism is very patriarchal, its main focus is kind of like Mother Mary, and when you're giving prayers and offerings and specifically Hail Marys, that's literally what you're doing, is you're hailing Mary, you're lifting her up. There is no specifically like goddess worshiping religion. And even if somebody wants to start one or talks about one, it gets very literally demonized. And I'm starting to wonder, and I talked about this a long time before about looking into the demons, but also I want to be careful because of my own stuff where I go when I'm researching kind of things, and make sure that I'm not just kind of like willy-nilly doing anything that I shouldn't be, as far as energetically and in harmony with the planet, as best I can. I just find it interesting because, so for example, I'm gonna find one, maybe one that just needs, so I'm gonna read this real quick before I talk about it, just to make sure it's cool to talk about. So I'm not gonna read all about this one because, like I said, I don't want to blah. But there is a statement in it that this is a demon, or a demon, specifically a demon, and this one is the writer puts in here that their name probably derived from the Egyptian god Horus. Right? And so, which brings me back to the word chaos. And so I wonder sometimes, were these beings that are considered demons and bad. Okay, so I'm going to digress a little bit because this is something I thought about the other day. When it talks about Isis, Set, and Osiris, because I've been wondering, like, when did it shift? When did it shift from being predominantly matriarchal to being more patriarchal? And I kind of realized, like, the story of Isis rescuing Osiris is patriarchal. She basically created the golden phallus, like literally created a golden phallus. Was Set, and then the story is that Set was of chaos. Well, if you look at the meaning of chaos, I'll say this again, if I haven't said it before, it means abyss, a great opening, endless darkness. And to me, that's a womb. Also, it's the earth, or being inside the earth, okay? Or being inside something. So, is it possible that actually this chaos was the Great Mother, specifically like Tiamat, because Tiamat is described as the great abyss of the waters, and then splits into like salt and fresh water, okay? Is it possible that Set was actually trying to keep chaos, the Great Mother, and destroy the sense of like patriarchy, even if it's metaphorical? I don't know. So just something I thought about, because and then continuing that, but what I was going to say about some of the things I've learned in this book about learning about some of these demons is that they're like, what they do isn't what we would imagine. So for example, I grew up thinking that demons were all very scary looking, that they would always cause terrible things to happen, illness, sickness, disease, from mental to physical to spiritual, okay? But mostly, like, the idea is that they always were doing something, quote unquote, like evil or malintended. Well, some of them have, like, okay, here we go. I'm not going to say the name because just in case, for spiritual reasons, and not to, anyways, that's a vibration. So this particular one of them, oh my gosh, can change into a human, can appear as a small horse, okay, or a donkey, can change themselves into a human, speaks hoarsely because obviously they look like a small horse. But one of their powers are teaches liberal sciences, gives account of the souls of those who died in sin. that doesn't sound very, it doesn't sound terrifying. It doesn't sound like you're like, oh my gosh, this. So ultimately, like, as I'm learning about this in a way that, you know, it's just information. That was funny. Look at my face is all red too. Totally scared me. Is that sometimes what we have been taught, and like even my own perception, is scarier than the information around it. But I'm not dismissing that there are, because we are powerful beings and we have created certain things, that does not change the energy or the position, so to speak, of that energy. So I will say that. Okay. Before I go, I think that's everything for today. Just kind of talking about goddesses of the Northwest. And there'll be more because there were a lot. And this was based mostly off of the internet, because I do have some books on indigenous mythology. And sometimes it goes into whose story it is, and sometimes it blends the stories. So I'm doing a little bit more. It's going to take some time, and then I'll do more on the calendar. What is today? Monday on the Gregorian calendar. I'll come back with another video about that on another day for some other time. But mostly to talk about the goddess and just some theories about patriarchy, and also some theories about how we've been taught about both angels and demons. And not that I want to, because I ultimately think if you create a spiritual hierarchy, then you can create a earthly hierarchy, and then you can create systems that seem to fit those, perpetuate them onto people, and use, religion or deities behind it to enforce it, and then it becomes real. And then it's another form of magic in a way that creates something outside of you that you can either go to or be afraid of. When ultimately it sounds to me like we've created them, and then we've agreed upon it, and then these energies can grow. I mean, that is kind of creation. That's what you do with like an art project. That's what you do when you're telling a joke. You're creating something, an energy from somewhere, the comedic realms, and then you present it, and the energy is laughter, right? And so it's just, I think, how we perceive and how we've been taught. And the Great Mothers, I feel like we taught all this stuff in a way that benefited us and benefited the communities and the environment and animals. And I think we did great things like create buildings and tunnels. Okay, thank you for being here, listening, watching, sharing. If you want a little different kind of aspect of what I share as far as like healing and somatic healing and even some repatterning skills, you can check out my Patreon. So if you appreciate what I'm sharing with you, you can thank me in the comment section. Leave like a super chat or sticker, or you can do none of that, and it's still awesome. And appreciate you guys. I don't want to say appreciate love either, because I feel like that can get manipulated. I like that word, but let's just say your being here is cool. And I like it. Enjoy your day. Until next time, take care.